What's up, everybody? It's Jason Alexander, the Blue Moon of Neptune, here to help you navigate through the illusions of life. And today you're watching the Market Moon Lord, where we merge the matrix with the stars. And we're going to go over Mercury Retrograde and what that means for the AMC, GME, and everyone else that's in this amazing community that's about to make history out here. But before we get to history, we really have to talk about this Mercury retrograde. I would not be a good financial astrologer if I just totally didn't speak about this Mercury retrograde, because it's actually a big deal for the stocks. You see, what retrogrades are is in astrology, they're considered to be planets that are going backwards. And no, they're not literally going backwards in the sky, but in the sky, they appear to be going backwards because they're closest to the Earth. And as Mercury loops around, and we're going around it with it, it appears to be going backwards from our perspective, okay? But it is slowing down. It is closest to the sky. And during these times is a time where we may have to, redo, retrograde, all the reads, redo, rethink, reanalyze, reinforce, reinvestigate, all right? And Mercury rules all forms of communication, education, telephones, writing, publication, and it deals with traveling, and it deals with anything that has to do with press, news, business. So it's actually a really big deal for the stock market. And yeah, we're about to get right into it. So let's go. Welcome to the Market Moon Lord, where we merge the matrix with the stars. I'm your host, Jason Alexander, the Blue Moon of Neptune, here to help you navigate through the illusions of life. Okay, by no means is this video for FUD, and by no means is this video to create any type of fear, anything like that. I'm definitely not afraid. This is a video strictly for us to prepare, okay, and just to get in better alignment with the universe, okay? Now, Mercury deals with, is Virgo, is Gemini, okay? Virgos want to make sure everything is in order. All the structure is there. All the routine is there. Everything is nicely organized and put together so it can, appropriately come into the world and manifest. Now, Gemini is all about bringing people together, networking, broadcasting, news, traveling, communication, business. Now, when Mercury is direct, or it's in a good sign, meaning Mercury is going forward and it's in a sign it likes, things are moving smoothly, astrologically speaking, okay? Now, Mercury on a personal level deals with how we process information. So we look at Mercury in astrology at someone's intelligence. Now, my Mercury is debilitated, so you guys are gonna find this funny, meaning my Mercury is in the worst place it can be, and it's in the sign of Pisces. Now, that's opposite of Virgo. Why does Mercury hate Pisces? Well, I just said Virgo likes to organize. Virgo likes to make sure everything is put together, pays attention to the details. And Pisces, what do we like? We like things to be outside the box. We like gray areas. We like to look at the stars instead of looking at technical or fundamental analysis, okay? So that's how Mercury's playing out personally for me, being in a sign it doesn't want to be in, okay? Now, when Mercury's in a bad place, you get interesting results. So never look at a debilitated planet and say, oh, you're going to get bad results. In fact, a lot of times when you're getting a bad position in astrology, it's actually going to push you in that area and make you better than someone who might be gifted in that area. Now, when Mercury goes direct on a personal level, things could just feel, retrograde on a personal level, things could just feel a little bit unclear, right? And that's what leads us to do that rethinking, the reanalyzing, redoing, reflecting, retracing, reinforcing, reinvestigating, revising, relisting. It could bring restrictions. It's like a reconsolidation phase, a reconfiguration phase, right? So that's what Mercury does. And we could have a hard time processing things. We could have a hard time communicating. So it's really important to make sure that we're really thinking before we communicate. We're really sticking to the strategy. We're really sticking to the plan. We're really actually planning. We're staying organized. That's how we beat this Mercury retrograde, okay? Now, it is known when Mercury goes retrograde, since it rules over communication, and especially when it comes to like telephones or internet stuff, especially anything that deals with numbers, because remember, Mercury is a numbers person or numbers planet. It's the details. Okay, so a lot of the times they say when Mercury goes retrograde, you have to be careful with technology. You have to back up your computers. You have to make sure that everything is put in place. You have all your ducks in a row, because things could just like, get messed up. Like your computer just like break down, or your car could just break down. That kind of stuff is known with Mercury retrograde. So obviously when I think about Mercury retrograde, I think about, the stock markets and, all this like craziness happening with Robinhood and other platforms. This could be more than likely to happen. That's this type of, mess during a Mercury retrograde. Now, on the flip side, what we want to always remember, okay? Like, for example, we just had that eclipse, and I said that's a very expansive eclipse, right? But the thing about it is, I told you it could give us the opposite effect. So for AMC, GME, it expanded the retail investor, right? But it did the opposite effect to the hedge funds, the suits, okay? So when I look at this Mercury retrograde, it's hard to say if it's going to affect us or if it's going to affect them. Like, based on the momentum, looks like it's going to affect them. But at the same time, when Mercury is going direct, remember, things are moving smoothly, things are moving appropriately, okay? And that was happening for us last week, right? And if you look at the chart right here, I have Saturday pulled up, and you could see that Mercury went retrograde on that Saturday. Literally the day after Friday, Mercury went retrograde. So to me, that's very suspicious, right? Like, we were having, and keep in mind, right before a planet starts going back, it starts to slow down, and we call that stationing. And when a planet is stationing, we know that it is extra strong. It is extra potent. Okay, so it's like it's emphasizing that area. Now, people who watched the AMC video for last week, not the one I just put out yesterday, but the one for the last week, I said that Mercury was opposite AMC's sun. So I said that we're going to get a lot of communication on AMC. And then Mercury goes retrograde opposite of AMC's sun. Okay, so that makes me suspicious. Okay, and we know the sun has to do with management, CEO, company reputation. Okay, so maybe there's something happening there. And when things are going forward with Mercury, things are good. But in the stock market, when Mercury starts going back, things tend to reverse. Okay, now we've seen plenty of times where the overall market is red and AMC GME is green. So it could be something like that. But Mercury retrograde is known to create a downtrend or a reverse trend. Now, one thing I want to mention is more likely to happen if Mercury goes retrograde on top of a planet or on top of a node for a company, and that is not the case for AMC. I'll have to check out GME later, but that is not the case for AMC. It's just opposite the sun. So it could go either way. All right. So we have to keep our eyes out for all this stuff. Okay. Don't be surprised if we find out more information. Don't be surprised if, something happens with technology. So make sure we just have everything in order. Now, one thing I want to mention is Mercury retrograde isn't a time to make a lot of big decisions. All right. Because it deals with our processing and our intelligence. Okay, so they say if you made a decision before Mercury retrograde, you're good. All right, but making huge decisions during a Mercury retrograde that you didn't already have a strategy for isn't always best practices. Okay, because remember, Mercury deals with the details. Okay, so now. It's happening in the sign of Gemini. Now, this is crazy because Mercury belongs to Gemini. Now, Gemini, you can see it right here. See that R right there next to the Mercury right here? Gemini is the sign of communication, things coming together, networking, broadcasting, news, everything you're familiar with. In fact, because Gemini rules the third house. Okay. So these are the areas of life that we on a personal level need to focus on. Make sure that we're communicating clearly. Make sure that we are thinking before we take an action. Okay. Now, I do expect news. I do expect a lot of information. And Mercury does, when it goes retrograde, it can create a lot of dreams. So tell me, are you guys dreaming? Because a lot of times we can get a lot of the information through the dreams during a Mercury retrograde. Now, since it's Gemini and that deals with people, communication, and you can see that it's right there next to Venus, I guarantee a lot of us are going to have to go back and deal with past relationships stuff. Okay, so if there's things happening in relationships that you weren't dealing with, you may have to deal with it now. If there's things, or if there's a person that you kind of left on the back burner or you haven't been dealing with, they could come back for you to deal with that. Okay, so that's very, very, very key to remember that. Now, what you want to do on a personal level to know exactly how this retrograde will affect you is, of course, you want to look at the aspects of where Mercury was and what it was hitting. But more importantly, you want to see the house that Gemini rules, because that's where Mercury went retrograde. Okay, so for example, this chart, we have a Scorpio rising right here, right, for the ascendant. So that means Gemini falls in their eighth house in Mercury retrograde. When their eighth house, we know eighth house has to deal with anything that's deals with resources, anything that deals with in the dark or hidden private transformations. Okay, it's going retrograde, so this person has to reflect on things they've been doing in the dark. This person has to reflect on how they're dealing with their resources. Okay, this person has to maybe to kind of redo something to transform, but they didn't do it correctly. So now Mercury is forced to relook at the details, reanalyze. Now here's the thing. Mercury has a shadow period. Okay, and a shadow period is where Mercury was before it went retrograde. Now, Mercury, when it goes retrograde, it's going all the way back to where it started in the shadow period. So on May 16th, that's where Mercury was. That's where Mercury was, somewhere around here, right? So Mercury's going to travel all the way back over here where it was in May 14th, and then it's going to go direct again, forward again, okay? And then when it passes the station point, then we're out of retrograde, which will be around June 6th, okay? So what's very interesting when I look at AMC on the 16th, or maybe it was the 15th, whatever day, the last day Mercury's shadow period, we had plus 13%, and then we started going to a downtrend after that, right? So it's almost like Mercury's going to go back and it's going to hit all those points it was at when we had the crazy run, okay? But then it's going to hit the point that we had before we had the run and we were dipping a little bit. And then it's going to hit where we were, where we had that 13%, and then we went into that dip on that waning moon. Okay, until we got that waxing moon again into the eclipse. The moon lords know what I'm talking about. Okay, if you're not a moon lord and you want to be the moon lord, you need to get on the Discord, Market Moon Lord. We get all kinds of crazy DDs going down there, not just astrology. So this is DD. You can't get anywhere else at the Market Moon Lord Discord. Check us out. But yeah, guys, make sure you follow. Make sure you figure out where your Gemini is. You guys can go to my site, The Blue Moon of Neptune. Go to astrology readings, and I have an actual stock calculator on there, or excuse me, a astrology calculator on there. So you can go on there and actually put in your birth details and figure out what your rising sign is. In fact, let me show you how to do that real quick. Okay, so if you're on my site, go to thebluemoonofneptune.com and just hit the first link here that says blog. And then when you stroll all the way to the bottom, you see where it says birth chart calculator. You just hit that. And then go here to your name. And then, just type in your birthday, whatever it might be. Make sure if you know your time, put your time. If you don't know your time, go time unknown. Now, I'll show you what to do if you don't know the time, because that's not going to tell you the house that it's in. And then make sure you do whatever city. New York. And then submit. Okay, so you simply want to scroll down. Now, remember, the first house starts here. You see how it has the the little one right there, that's the first house. And the first house is considered ascendant. So if you know the first house, you're going to know where all the other houses fall. So the ascendant, the AC, is the first house, okay? Now, remember, we want to see where the Mercury retrograde went, and we know that happened in Gemini, okay? Now, this particular Mercury retrograde is happening in late degrees 24, and then it's going all the way back to around the 10th degree. I don't know the exact degree, but it does goes back quite a bit, right? So if Mercury is in the 24th degree and there's only 30 degrees, we know it's at the end of this Gemini energy, right? So Mercury retrograde is about right here. Now, that falls in this person's 12th house, okay? The 12th house is the house of spirituality, the house of imagination, the house of dreams, the house of where we're no longer physical. We enter that other plane, okay? It's the final house. It's also known as the house of losses, okay? Mercury goes retrograde here. You can guarantee this person's probably gonna have a lot of dreams. It's gonna have a big imagination. This person may be super in their head at this time and might be super reflective. And this could bring up a lot of like spiritual healing, okay? Because it's going deep inside a person's psyche, deep inside a person's spiritual world. But this can also bring paranoia. This could bring illusions, just misdirection. So this person has to stay grounded during this time because it can affect them in a very psychological way, okay? So that would be how we kind of would look at it, okay? So look at your chart and see where this Mercury retrograde is going to fall for you, okay? Because each house represents a different part of your life. For example, the first house is your persona, projects your personality, how you see yourself, how you want the world to see you, okay? Second house is your possessions, everything you have, your money, your savings. So if you have a retrograde there, you really need to, focus on all the things that you have and make sure you're paying attention to the details, okay? If you have a Mercury retrograde in the 7th house, for example, that's the house of relationships. So this person might have to deal with past relationships again, or to deal with things they thought they solved in a relationship that they didn't, okay? If it's happening in your 10th house of career, this person may be rethinking what they're doing in the world, or they may have to redo something they thought they already completed. Now, of course, if you guys want an actual reading from me, you guys can simply just go home here, and I could give you an actual reading on this actual astrological alignment for you. You guys can just go to services by the Blue Moon at Neptune. Now, guys, I offer all kinds of readings. If you just want like a financial astrology reading, all you really need to do is go to my Destiny Gifts and Career readings, okay? Now, if you want like a quick little reading on this Mercury retrograde, we have a 1-question email response right here. And then we also have a current energies, 1-question, 20-minute call. And if the question is just about Mercury retrograde, I got you. But guys, astrology readings is what I do. If you guys want to get an idea of the vibe, check out some of the lives, because I'm always doing astrology readings on the live. If you guys can't purchase a reading, check me out when I do a live, and I'll give you a reading for free. Just have to call in. So that's the Mercury retrograde. I'm Jason Alexander, the Blue Moon of Neptune, here to help you navigate through the illusions of life. That's the Mercury retrograde for AMC GME community. You guys let me know what you think. You guys let me know how you're feeling. Until next time. Oh, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you're new. Yeah, until next time, peace.
Jason Alexander, the Blue Moon of Neptune.